She the jealous type, drags her girlfriends. Run your mouth, I cannot relate to a word. Saving up so I can't pay you no mind. You could hit me, I won't pick up cause I don't got time. It's dimmi con chi vai, ti dirò chi sei. See who you hang with, not much to say. Been out of bounds, you don't know your place. I'll be on my way out, you're in my way.
Yo, Jonathan here, and this is my review of the 2021 iPad Pro. Specifically, this is the 12.9-inch model, which yes, does have that M1 chip packed inside, but more importantly, it has a game-changing XDR display. And I realize most of the reviews you've probably watched by now all echo the same three things. That's a spicy meatball. That was pretty good. 1, there's an M1, why can't it run macOS? 2, there's all this power but nothing to take advantage of that power. And 3, the XDR display looks amazing. I can't show you it looks amazing, but it looks amazing. And let's take that in reverse. The XDR display does look amazing, but I want to show you. This entire video was edited and uploaded in HDR using this M1 iPad Pro, but don't worry, I didn't just shoot it on an iPhone, I used a real camera and everything. As far as the power, I wholeheartedly agree to an extent. The M1 chip inside here is absolutely not being used to its maximum potential, and honestly, if you're not interested in HDR, whether it's creation or consumption, there's pretty much zero reason to upgrade from the 2020 iPad Pro or really even the 2018 iPad Pro, especially when we're talking about the 11-inch model, which doesn't even have an XDR display. With that said though, to say that nothing can take advantage of the power is kind of silly, and believe me, I want Final Cut and Logic on the iPad Pro as much as the next person, but I feel like a lot of the tech space right now is trying to put the square into the triangle. And if you would just look a little further out or off to the right, you would see, hey, there's the matching triangle, but on top of that, there's a circle, there's a star. There are all these tools where if you would give those a chance, you would see, hey, there's some really powerful stuff you can do. Now, before we jump into the notion of macOS on iPad, I want to first preface it with saying I was disappointed with iPadOS at this year's WWDC. Like, it was by far the most underwhelming part of the event. But with that said, I am far more interested in seeing where iPadOS continues to go instead of just slapping macOS on the iPad. As you should hopefully see throughout this video, there are certain things that end up working better on iPad as opposed to Mac. And the most important thing I want to drive home is when I see the comment of M1 deserves a desktop OS. I'm like, yo, there's a MacBook Air, a MacBook Pro, a Mac Mini, and now an iMac with a 4.5K display that all pack an M1 with a desktop OS. The one point that I want to drive home is that Apple didn't throw an M1 Mac chip into the iPad. They actually threw an iPad chip into a Mac last year when they launched M1, and somehow we've ended up full circle where some people tend to forget that. So if you need the power and the efficiency and the lack of jet engine fan noise that M1 brings, now you have options. You can go laptop, you can go desktop, or you can go iPad and take advantage of iPad specific things. The other thing to remember is that 2020 kind of changed the world with the global pandemic, everything from working at home to not seeing each other. So to me, it's clear that because of that, Apple's resources shifted. Seeing things like Center Stage or all the attention on FaceTime and SharePlay, which to me, honestly, was the highlight of WWDC. And I think with that, we got to remember that those all trickle down and benefit the iPad. The way I would really look at it is throw the 2020 or the 2018 iPad Pro out the window. If you didn't own one of those and you were looking to buy a new iPad Pro 2 weeks ago, now you get everything that was great about those, plus the option to add an XDR display, a Thunderbolt port, extra RAM to make it even more future-proof. And if you don't need all that, hey, now you can grab one of the 2018 or 2020s on a refurbished price for even cheaper. Or if you don't need XDR or 120 Hz display, I would honestly recommend checking out the iPad Air, which is a great value. For me personally, why I got excited for this iPad Pro was the XDR display, because it was something new, something that I didn't have on a MacBook Pro or an iMac. And really the only way I could get anything close was with a display that was over $5,000. Jumping back into story time, I talked about my dad who I lost when I was 18 in the last video, and how he is really the driving force for my love and passion for tech. And usually when there's something new there's a parallel story that kind of reminds me of him. In this case, with the display, I remember when he was so excited to get an HD TV, but like the early first HD TVs, that was really the jump from 480 up to 720, which is really what we consider to be potato quality now. It was bulky as hell, and there were really only like 2 channels that supported HD content, which really are probably what we would call screensavers to this day because the content was so limited. But the excitement he had to show me that and to explain the jump from SD to HD, that's what I want to carry with me. So as excited as he was to show me that 720p TV, how excited would I be to show him this iPad that can view and edit true HDR video that he never got a chance to see? I think that is what tech should be about. This here specifically is an HDR video project I did with my guys over at City Creed, Mark and Dre, who are ridiculously stupid talented. Definitely check them out. But I would say over the past year and a half, I have fallen in love with HDR video. There's been a ton of trial and error, a ton of messing things up, but as I've become more comfortable with it, I've watched it become more and more accessible, which is awesome. This video in particular was kind of the eye-opening experience for a lot of people to see what could truly be done with HDR, and that was shot on an iPhone 12 mini. If you want to check that out, as well as the other videos I've worked on in HDR, I'll put together a playlist that'll link up here and down below. From there, beyond things like HDR and Dolby Vision, you then pair Dolby Atmos and spatial audio, and all of a sudden you include a pair of AirPods Max or AirPods Pro, and you have this cinema movie theater experience on a package that all fits in your bag without wires. So while so many people are laser focused on Final Cut Pro not being on the iPad and assuming maybe iMovie or Adobe Rush is what you got to work with, a lot of people are just missing that, hey, something like LumaFusion, which is a fraction of the price of Final Cut, is there, and it's getting better and better and more powerful with every release. I've been lucky enough to check out the beta version of the next release, and I gotta say, as a Final Cut user, the upcoming multicam editing is scary close. The fact that you could do something like this on a fanless machine and then potentially do it in HDR should be mind-blowing. The other nice thing with LumaFusion is you can actually output 16:9 video instead of being trapped in 4:3, which was a huge complaint this year with iPadOS and its update. The other really nice thing with this LumaFusion update is the ability to truly edit off an external drive, and when you pair that with the Thunderbolt port on this iPad Pro, then you're getting 3, 4, 5 times the speed as you would with USB, and that is huge. So throw video out the window. Outside of that, the other area that really surprised me was music and audio production and seeing how far things have come. Again, while most people are looking for Logic Pro or Pro Tools and giving GarageBand a hard time, you have programs like Cubasis 3 sitting off to the side, which blew my mind. To my surprise, there's a ton of wave plugins available on the iPad within Cubasis 3, pitch correction, delays, compressors, just tons of different options. And then branching out even beyond that, the amount of Pro plugins that are currently available on iPad is kind of shocking. Like, I did not expect to see fully functioning FabFilter plugins on there, but here we are. From there, I really wanted to push the iPad Pro because I think there's a giant assumption that you can't do Pro things. So initially what I wanted to try was to see if I could hook up an analog piece of gear, a compressor, into an interface, and then that into the iPad Pro. The setup is cool. It surprised me, but then to actually be able to track and hear everything analog to digital into the iPad with no latency. That's also an instance where the Apple Music experience is better on iPad right now, because within macOS, it's kind of a mess where you have to manually change the music settings from your system preferences, whereas on iPad, it does it automatically. As impressive as all of that was, then once I finally recorded the music to get it into Cubasis and to see what you can do, that was kind of the next light bulb moment for me. I would definitely call myself a Mac user first over an iPad user. I think like anything, if you give yourself time, you're going to adjust and get used to something. And that was where I quickly realized that if I was gonna treat the iPad like a Mac, I was gonna be slower and I was gonna be missing out on things. The wave stuff, the FabFilter stuff worked phenomenally, just like you'd expect on a desktop. For me though, it was this compressor that truly opened my eyes. Really the job of a compressor is to even things out. So you take the peaks down, you take the low parts up and try to get those closer so they're sitting more tightly together. So to visually see how much are we squashing, how much are we outputting, and to have it react almost instantaneous like it was a knob or a dial, that's where things get really exciting.
It was you before I decided. How little did I know? 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 The summer before you can't spell drama without consonants. And I admit I usually was the cause of it. Now here we are, you got me changing all of it. Slow me down, I want you to. It's different when it comes to you.
And in the spirit of things, if you guys want to hear or watch this video in what I would call lossless, not YouTube compressed, I'll post a link to the full quality video where you can download and view in your Files app, or just the wave so you can listen to that without any compression. Again, if you want to see that entire video from start to finish, I will drop that link up here and down below. But it really kind of shows you that there's a ton you can do on the iPad if you look in the right direction. From there, then you pile on everything that the iPad is already great at. Drawing, photo editing, taking notes, gestures. So those are the reasons why you'd go with an iPad over a Mac. And again, going full circle, if you need to do desktop type things on M1, you have that option as well. I think it's safe to say that the iPad has all the potential in the world and that we all just want to see more. And I think for those that have watched the channel, the ongoing joke is I never continued the 2018 iPad Pro, which almost comes full circle and continues to this point right now. There's a sentiment in the tech space where you shouldn't buy a piece of technology based off future promises, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. My job here isn't to tell you to buy an iPad or really any piece of tech. What I want to do is show you everything that you can do on it right now. And if it works for you, amazing. If not, at least you know. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did and you were feeling like being awesome, make sure to drop a like down below. Hopefully it gave some insight onto what you can currently do, and then anything in the future is icing on top. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Jonathan, and I will catch you guys later.